Welcome to another Splatoon 2 video on the channel. This will be another news roundup video. Well, I say it is going to be a Splatoon 2 video. I will be including general Splatoon topics in there as well. Before I do get into the topics, I just want to thank everybody that did turn up to the open lobbies that I did hold on Splatoon 2 on Friday and Saturday. On Friday, I hosted an open lobby on my main account, and on Saturday I hosted an open lobby on my second account. So I'd just like to thank everybody that did turn up to those open lobbies, and I am hoping to play a little bit more Splatoon 2 with you guys, especially on my second account. So you probably might not be seeing that many videos from me over the next couple of weeks. I have been spending a lot of time editing videos and not a lot of time actually playing the game, so I want to kind of change that up a little bit and try and play as many games as possible with you guys. So I will be jumping in on Turf War, and of course you guys can join me on Turf War. You might see me on League Battle and Salmon Run as well. So yeah, you might not be seeing that many videos from me. By the way, this roundup, it will be quite long. I will be including quite a lot of topics in there, and there might even be some news that I have missed out on. It's like this video will be including news topics that I haven't talked about yet over the last couple of weeks, and then when I do return, I will round up all of the topics that do sort of come up in the next couple of weeks in another news roundup video in a couple of weeks time. I might still make videos here and there when we do get some news of maybe a new Splatfest or a new stage getting announced, but yeah, I pretty much want to spend a lot of time playing the game with you guys, so there might not be that many videos on the channel. So yeah, that was a long intro. I don't really have time for long intros just because, like what I said, I do have a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of like stuff that I haven't talked about yet that has popped up over the last couple of weeks. Let's start off with a fairly recent news topic, and that is Japan has a new Splatfest, and this Splatfest is another sponsored Splatfest, and it is with the Japanese chocolate company. I'm just going to pronounce it as Meiji, or I can't even flipping pronounce it, but yeah, pretty much this Splatfest, voting will start on the 11th of August, and the Splatfest itself will be happening on the weekend of the 18th of August to the 19th of August. Maybe that will be when we will get a Splatfest, or maybe we will have to wait until the end of the month to get our August Splatfest. But the topic is Mushroom Mountain versus Take no Ko no Sato, and I have probably pronounced that all wrong, but yeah, that is the next Splatfest in Japan. Now, in a recent news roundup video that I have made on the channel, I did include Octoling Boy and Octoling sort of female concept art, but I did miss out on one Octoling Boy concept art, and I will be including it on screen now. In July, the Octotune soundtrack came out, and we now have some figures in terms of how well it did perform in its first week of sales. The Octotune soundtrack sold around about 20,000 copies, and that did help it to put the Splatoon Octotune soundtrack in at number 7 on the Japanese official music charts, which is quite impressive, seeing as this is not necessarily conventional music, this is video game music. So it is pretty cool to see Octotune selling really well. I'm sure a lot of that figure is in terms of people importing the Octotune soundtrack as well. I know people have uploaded the Octotune soundtrack onto YouTube as well, and I have definitely took advantage of that, just because the Octotune soundtrack, it cost around about 40 or 50 pounds to import, and something like $40–50 as well. So it's not really necessarily affordable, but that people have uploaded it onto YouTube, and yeah, I have listened to the Octotune soundtrack, and the Off the Hook songs, especially Shark Bites, seriously, that version of Shark Bites, it sounds really clean. It sounds, I mean, it just sounds more sort of crisper compared to the music in the actual game itself. And the same can be said for Fly Octo Fly and Ebb and Flow as well. You know, that song definitely sounds a lot crisper and a lot cleaner, like in terms of the auto-tune version compared to the actual game version. I think my favourite song is The Plan. That is definitely a really cool song, and I will be including it in the background of this video, so you will be listening to that song in the background of this video. And yeah, I really do like the sound of this song. The auto-tune soundtrack outsold Splatoon 2's original soundtrack, which I do believe was called Splatoon. I could be wrong on that. I think that did come out in around about January, February. I have been sort of looking at stuff that got included with that soundtrack, and there was an interview with Marina in there. I'm not sure if you guys would like to see me sort of include that sort of interview in another news roundup video. Maybe that is sort of old news at this point, but let me know in the comment section below whether you want me to cover that Marina interview in another news roundup video. Now, people who have bought the auto-tune soundtrack have realised that there are missing tracks in terms of Dedf1sh's music. Songs 3, 7, 10, 15, 17 and 18 are missing from the auto-tune soundtrack. So could that possibly mean that we will get new Dedf1sh music in future updates? I think that would be really cool if that did happen. I can't really come up with another explanation for why those songs are missing from the soundtrack. I do believe the soundtrack did include every single Octo expansion song, so it's not like these tracks are sort of Octo expansion music that wasn't included on the auto-tune soundtrack. So this could possibly be more Splatoon 2 music coming down the line, and that possibility has definitely got me really hyped, just because I really do love Splatoon music. It is so cool, it really is. I really do love Dedf1sh's music as well, so the prospect of us getting more music definitely got me excited. And by the way, I really want to see Squid Squad return as well in Splatoon 2. Nagami has talked about that being a possibility in a Famitsu interview that we got for Splatoon turning a year old, or Splatoon 2 in particular turning a year old. So yeah, I'll definitely would love to see new Dedf1sh music as well as Squid Squad returning from the first game. Speaking of that Nagami Famitsu interview, we now have a new translation from Nintendo Everything, and it sort of talks about different stuff than what I did talk about in a recent news roundup video. Some of the stuff that I did talk about, that translation was from Silicon Era, I do believe was the name of that original translation. This second translation sort of doesn't talk about the stuff that I did talk about in that recent news roundup video that I did make. I'm not sure what translation to believe, but I will include Nintendo Everything's version of that Famitsu interview in the comment section, or it will be included in the description of this video. But we got some new details in terms of the origins of the Octo expansion. So with Nintendo Everything's translation of the Famitsu interview, we learned that the origins of the Octo expansion comes from Sakaguchi coming up with ideas for the hero mode in Splatoon 1. But those ideas weren't included in the single player for Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, because the dev team thought it would be confusing for the player to have different objectives. You have to remember that the single player for Splatoon 1 on the Wii U was our first introduction into the world of Splatoon, so it would have been confusing having all of those different objectives and it being so hard it might put off people from the Splatoon universe and the Splatoon franchise. But yeah, that is definitely interesting how the origins of the Octo expansion comes from the first game, and originally some of the ideas that were planned for the Octo expansion were originally going to be in the single player for the first game. The Splatoon 2 dev team thought it would be a shame if those ideas went to waste, so in collaboration with their own ideas, they decided to put in some of the ideas that Sakaguchi came up with for the single player for Splatoon 1 in the Octo expansion. Now, the interesting thing about Sakaguchi is that he did work on the first game, but he didn't work on the second game. He is now a director behind Nintendo Labo. I always thought Sakaguchi was a cool guy. It's like the Inkling Boy, like the ponytail sort of hairstyle for the Inkling Boy was based on Sakaguchi's hairstyle. I can remember at E3, I think it was 2014, it might have been 2015, when Splatoon was revealed for the Wii U. I can remember Sakaguchi like playing the game with his ponytail, and of course you got the Inkling Boy with that ponytail hairstyle that I do like to rock. That is the hairstyle that I did use in the original game. It's just a nice cool little detail how you got the Inkling Boy hairstyle from the first game. It was based on Sakaguchi's hairstyle. But yeah, it's interesting how Nagami and Sakaguchi, they were joint developers for the first game, but Nagami is the sole lead developer or sole lead producer for the second game, and Sakaguchi has now gone on to direct Nintendo Labo games. It would have been interesting to see what Sakaguchi would have come up with if he did work on the second game. That's not to say the second game is bad, like I absolutely love the second game, but it would have been interesting to see what Sakaguchi would have come up with as well. And who knows, maybe like Sakaguchi did work on Splatoon 2, like some of the ideas for the second game, because we did know that they did work on Splatoon 2 whilst developing updates for the first game. So maybe Sakaguchi did come up with some of the stuff that we are experiencing in the second game as well. But yeah, we'll include a link to Nintendo Everything's translation of the Famitsu interview in the description for you to check out. Now recently we had an update that did bring Anchovy games, and it did bring the custom Hydra Splatling, the Nautilus 47, the Blob Lobber. I know a lot of people are saying that the Blob Lobber is overpowered. That is the talk currently going on in the community right now. Let me know your thoughts about the Blob Lobber in the comment section below. It can get quite annoying to come up against like multiple Blob Lobber users. It's sort of hard to get away from the Blob Lobber. It's kind of hard when it does bounce off the ground, it does bounce off the wall. So let me know your thoughts about the Blob Lobber in the comment section below. But also we got the light Tetra Duelist, and the setup for that weapon is wrong in the Splatnet app. It says that the special weapon for the light Tetra Duelist is the Burst Bomb Rush Special. I think that is what the name of that special is, but pretty much it is a load of burst bombs as the special weapon instead of the actual special weapon, which is the auto bomb launcher. So I'm sure that will get fixed soon. There was an Arrested Development reference in that recent update as well. Basically, when Sheldon describes the Blob Lobber, he is referring to Arrested Development, which is a US sitcom. Recently, we got some details in terms of how well the game is doing in Japan and around the world in 2018. So the attach rate for Splatoon 2 in Japan in 2018 is 53.5% of the user base that has bought the Switch system. When the game did first launch in 2017, the attach rate was 55%, or to be precise, it was 55.68%. So that is quite impressive. the user base hasn't really dropped that much. The game is still selling really well in Japan. That means that roughly 1 in 2 Switch owners in Japan does have Splatoon 2, and maybe that does explain why Japan gets all of the cool Splatoon stuff in terms of actual in-game content, like exclusive gear, like the spy gear and the Emperor gear, as well as cool merch as well. Now, in terms of worldwide sales data, Splatoon 2 has sold 740,000 copies since March, and that means Splatoon 2 has sold 6,760,000 copies since the game did come out in July last year, and that puts the game 4th on the biggest selling Switch games list since the system did come out in March 2017. For the record, Super Mario Odyssey is first with 11.17 million copies sold. Then you have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with 10.35 million copies sold. Then you have Zelda Breath of the Wild with 9.32 million copies sold, and then you have Splatoon 2 with 6.76 million copies sold. So that is definitely impressive. I'm hoping that the game will continue to sell, especially with the release of the Octo expansion. I'm hoping that the Octo expansion will provide a boost in the sales data. The sales data goes from March to June, I do believe, so it doesn't include the Octo expansion. I do believe the cutoff point for the sales data is just before the Octo expansion did launch in the middle of June. So I'm hoping that the game will get a little boost when we do get more up-to-date sales data, which does include when the Octo expansion did release. There will be a sponsored esports tournament in Japan, and this is for the baseball league. So pretty much every single baseball team in that baseball league will be putting up a team for that esports tournament in Japan. That is individual and separate to the esports tournament that is also being held in Japan, that will be determining what Japanese sort of contender will take part in the Splatoon 2 World Championships in 2019. I'm sure that will happen at E3 again, like what happened with the World Champs for this year. But yeah, that is cool how you got like a sponsored esports tournament, how you got the baseball league submitting teams for that esports tournament. Now, over the past couple of weekends, Nintendo has held esports tournaments in Japan, and that will determine who will go through to the Japanese finals, and then the winner of that Japanese finals will then go on to take part in the World Championships in 2019. And Nintendo has done a few cool stuff in collaboration, or to sort of promote that caution. I do believe that is how you do pronounce that word, but that is what the tournaments are called in Japan. They are called caution tournaments, and pretty much they are regional tournaments that will determine who will go through to the national Japanese finals, and then the winner of that Japanese national finals will then go on to take part in the World Championships in 2019. But Nintendo has done some cool stuff to promote these tournaments. Basically, if you took a selfie with a particular hashtag, your selfie would get a particular Inkling background, and your face would be in like the head of an Inkling. So you would be an Inkling, and yeah, I am definitely describing that really poorly. I will be putting an image of that sort of selfie on screen now. That definitely looks really cool. So there were other cool stuff to do at the tournament as well. You could play a level in the Octo expansion at the tournament, and the best times for that level will get posted to the left of that booth. You could play through the Splatoon 2 medley on the Switch game Taiko Drum Master, which is coming to the West. It is coming in November for North America and Europe, so we will be able to play the Splatoon 2 medley on Taiko Drum Master. You could get your photos taken with weapons from the game, and in the background it does have a Splatoon 2 background. That definitely did look really cool. Also at the tournament there were statues of the squid and the Octo in its Octo form as well, and those statues look really cool as well. So Nintendo, they went sort of all out for that tournament. Also at each regional tournament in Japan, you will get a fan with a different Splatoon themed design as well. That definitely looks really cool. And also they were selling Splatoon merch at that tournament as well. So Nintendo definitely went all out for those regional tournaments. I would definitely like to see Nintendo do the same sort of thing in the West as well. Now WarioWare Gold is the name of the recent 3DS game that I do believe came out in July. And pretty much it does have some Splatoon references in that game. Pretty much when you put in your amiibo, Wario would do a painting or a drawing of that amiibo. Basically on screen now I will be putting some Wario's paintings of some Splatoon amiibo. I might in the future make a video where I do go through all of the Splatoon Easter eggs and references in other video games. That has definitely sparked a new video idea, so maybe I might do that in the future. Now at the Winter Festival 2018, we got a new picture of the Inkling Girl Figma from Splatoon 2. That definitely does look really cool, and also they have a DX version of the Inkling Girl from Splatoon 1. It is the Inkling Girl in a slightly different design. Those Figmas, they look really cool, but again, those are really expensive to buy. And the last topic that I will be including in this video is that the third range in the mini weapon collection has been released in Japan, and you can import that mini weapon collection, I do believe, from Play Asia. The Sloshing Machine, the Splashomatic and the Splooshomatic joins the lineup. That includes the Splatshot, the NZAP 85, the NZAP 89, the Jet Squelcher and the Custom Jet Squelcher. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this long news roundup video. Like what I said at the start, this will probably be the last video that I do make for a little bit, just because I do want to play Splatoon 2 with you guys, and pretty much me editing videos, it does take me away from actually playing the game itself. So that is why I will be taking a mini break from editing videos so that I can play the game with you guys on my second account and my main account as well. But I will be mainly playing on my second account in August, just because when the online service does launch in September, I will not be paying for two accounts. I will just be sticking with my main account. So that is why I will be playing mainly on my second account in August. So yeah, that is it for this video, and I will see you next time. Now I do have a bonus topic, and this is for people that kind of want to hear spoilers. And this topic did crop up around about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I did put up a poll on Twitter asking people whether they were bothered about me talking about spoilers in like my news roundup videos. The response on Twitter was a little bit of a mixed bag, so that is why I thought I would put this topic, which is around about 3 or 4 weeks old now, at the end of this video, where most people have probably clicked away from this video by the time that they do get to this point. But yeah, if you don't want to hear about potential spoilers, then click away from this video now. But if you do, then yeah, this is a bonus topic for this video, and that is people have found a new special weapon in the files of the game, and it is sort of like a DBZ sort of energy ball sort of system. It sort of reminds me of the Ink Strike from the original game, so it will be interesting to see whether this special weapon will make its way to the game or not, or maybe this is content that will never make its way to the game. Maybe Nintendo did test out ideas for a new special weapon, but they thought that it wasn't going to be balanced enough for the game. So maybe that is why they might have decided to not include this special weapon in the game. Or maybe this special weapon will be coming to the game soon. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Just because people have spotted it in the files of the game, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will make its way to the game itself. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think this special weapon will make its way to the game? That is it for this video. Hopefully you have enjoyed this really long news roundup video. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video that I do make.